Hi, I'm John, and this is Small Jobs. So first things first, let's talk about how miniatures are actually manufactured nowadays. They basically boil down into three different types. Your metal miniatures, your plastic miniatures, and your resin miniatures. If we're looking at a metal miniature, you're going to see that it's actually made out of what they call white metal. They used to be made out of just straight lead, but after some legal rulings, it was decided that that was a little more toxic. The composition's not that much of a difference. As a matter of fact, works a little nicer because it's not as soft. The next option would be plastic. As you can see, it usually comes on a sprue. Resin miniatures are relatively new in the scale of things. If you think about it, metal miniatures have been around since tin soldiers from way back in the day. But the new resin miniatures are extremely high detail. And that's pretty much the three different types of miniatures that you'll come across. And now it's time to start cleaning it up. First thing is, you might notice that it's attached to something called sprue. Sprue is the little connecty bit that's part of the molding process. Remove the pieces from the sprue. What you want to do in this case is make sure that the flat side of your diagonal cutters is up against the part in question. So that way you get a nice clean cut. First thing I'm going to do is kind of see where the parting line is. The parting line is the seam between the two halves of the mold. This guy is alright, but still needs a little work. So I'm going to give him a good look over. Looks like there's some parts along his legs. Helmet, we'll get to that in a little bit. That'll be really kind of a neat job there. As I said, one of my favorites is the round file. I'm working the inside of his legs at this point. For the tighter corners, like under his armpits, in between plates of armor, this is where I'm going to use the triangular file. And then working around the head, since he's wearing a helmet, I'm going to use a flat file to kind of work on that one to get a nice texture to it. If there's any tricky spots, this might be one of those cases where I'll go and grab one of my dental picks and kind of work through there. You're going to proceed going through the course of the miniature, finding the various bits, things that are kind of sticking out, and work those to their clean. She's actually been pretty well cleaned up, and now we're going to attach her to her base. So, got a base right here, got her. We see that she's kind of loose, doesn't fit real solid in the base. So first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and give the base, or her little tab, a little bit of a crimp. And by zigzagging that, it'll kind of spread it out a little bit and make it fit the the slotted base a little better. Much better now, see? Or super glue. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the Sinbad myself. I'm going to put a little dab on the tab, particularly where we put the bends, and just a little bit on the soles of her feet. Be careful, you don't want to get it on you. Nice. Alright, now you're going to note that because the tab on her feet is a little smaller than the slot on her base, there's a little of extra space there. So this is where our filler putty is going to come in handy. My new favorite, the Vallejo plastic putty. Let's go ahead and fill that in. First I'm going to come in from the bottom. Careful that it doesn't come out through the top. And then we'll actually add some to the top of the slot to hide where it goes between her feet. So let's clear up that putty. This is where I'm going to use my handy dandy hobby knife. Go through and just very gently just clean up some of that putty there. Now that he's ready to go, his gap is filled, we're going to make a kind of a glue slurry, as it were. The thing is, if you were to put straight glue on there, it's going to kind of build up and get all gloppy. If it's too thin, then it's not really going to stick. It's usually about 1 part glue to 1 part water. So there's our glue. I'm using bottled water because it doesn't have all the minerals that household water has. And what I got here is an old crappy paintbrush and use as my glue brush, as it were. There we go. Alright, so what I'm going to do here, let me get my basing sand handy, because we got to work a little fast. Is using that brush, going to work the glue in and around his feet, over the seam. Make sure we got all our bases covered here. Haha, that's funny. And then I'm just going to dip them right in. Dust it off, give it a little tap, and then I'm going to quickly just wipe away the extra sand with my finger. So there you go. Doesn't look much right now, but once we get the spray paint on it, it's going to look like he's standing on some rough gravel there. And that's our basic basing. To see extended footage of what we've worked on today, be sure to visit playthegamepodcast.com under the section for small jobs.